Hey guys, so today I want to talk about everyone's favorite new weapon, the sword. Most of you have already experienced its power in PvE, providing possibly the best kill to ammo usage out of any of the heavy weapons. It is excellent for taking out trash mobs, and the exotic swords are especially good at dealing massive single target damage. But that's not what we're here for. We want to know how useful it is in the Crucible. The main thing I wanted to look at is the blocking function. Just how much damage can this thing allow you to withstand? And the answer is an impressively large amount. So to start it off, let's look at your typical Kinetic auto rifle. This is the antipodal hindsight with no upgrades or bonuses on it. Under normal circumstances, at close range, it does 25 to the head and 20 to the body. Against the legendary arc sword, it does 2 damage, and that's a 90% damage reduction. Dumping a full clip of 26 rounds into the sword will only use 4 of its ammo. The sword's blocking function is less effective when taking damage from a source of the same element, so we pitted it against the Arc Zalo Supercell. Normally, the Supercell does 16 to the body, but when blocked by the Arc Sword, it does 6 damage, which is only a 62.5% damage reduction. A full clip from the Zalo will come very close to killing your target if they have the Arc Sword. However, any other element sword will have the same damage reduction as the Kinetic auto rifle. Moving on to the special weapons, I have a Void Jingugoku D Hake shotgun from the Gunsmith. This shotgun is of the same archetype as your next big thing, Strongbow D and Patch A. Any shotgun should be lethal from this distance with all of the pellets hitting. Against a Void Sword, the shotgun does a single blast for 73 damage and uses up 3 ammo. Against the other 2 swords, it does 25 damage, which is almost 3 times less, but it still uses up 3 ammo. For the fusion rifles, I was using Plan C, an arc fusion, and up against the Void Sword, each bolt was only doing 5 damage, and a full burst only chews up 1 ammo. Against the Arc Sword, each bolt does 3 times more damage at 15 per bolt, and this ends up using 9 of the sword's ammo. My theory as to why there is such a large difference in the amount of ammo consumed compared to how it was with shotguns is that because each bolt counts as a separate damage marker, it ends up consuming some amount of ammo per bolt, whereas for shotguns, there is only 1 damage number. I'm not sure why, but the sword consolidates the individual pellet damage of shotguns into 1 large burst of damage. Since this is not the case for fusions, we see the large spike in ammo consumption. For snipers, I was using Black Spindle, which is the hardest hitting sniper currently available, and it was honestly laughable. I was only doing 19 damage to non-solar swords, which was taking away 6 ammo, and 55 damage to the solar sword, taking away 7 ammo. I can only imagine how little damage every other sniper does, but I think it goes without saying you're going to need a lot of bullets. To finish off the weapons, let's look at heavies. For heavy machine guns, I used an Arc Ruin Wake, which is the same archetype as the BTRD and the Swarm from Year 1. This gun normally does 51 damage to the body, but against a non-Arc Sword, it was doing 6 damage, and against the Arc Sword, it was doing 16 damage. That's an 89% and a 69% damage reduction respectively. It was using up roughly 1 ammo per shot against the Solar, and about double that against the Arc. As far as rockets go, I was using a Void Suros JLB-47 from the Gunsmith and could not kill either sword even with direct impact. A non-Void sword consumed 10 ammo and the Void consumed 13. So you'll need several rockets to take down someone with a sword of a different element, but while a sword of the same element keeps you alive, it isn't going to be by much. For our final test, we pitted sword against sword. I had the Arc Legendary Sword, and against the Void, it was doing 22 damage and consuming 1 ammo. Against another Arc Legendary Sword, it did 66 damage and consumed 2 ammo. While it was interesting to test, if you ever swing at a blocking sword, you're most likely going to be dead very soon after. My thoughts on the sword in the Crucible is that it's a great tool and it allows you to withstand a bunch of damage for sustained periods or all at once. In most cases, having a sword of a different damage type allowed you to withstand about 3 times more damage than having one of a matching element, and this can be great for intimidating your opponents as you walk up to them while you eat every bullet they shoot at you, but it seems that by now most people have learned to play against the sword, and to be lethal you have to stop blocking. So while they're very efficient and very effective at killing, they're very high risk, high reward weapons. And as far as normal Crucible goes, you're going to be better off with the machine gun, and Trials probably going to be better off with the rocket. Swords will always have the fun factor, especially Boltcaster, since it acts kind of like a rocket. But as far as practicality and PvP goes, That's all for part 1, swords versus weapons. In part 2, we're going to be looking at swords versus subclass abilities, and that'll be up soon. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you soon.